conquer and we're going to take some. Is that understood? Yes, sir. That's what we're going to do, sweethearts. We are going to go and get some. All right, people, on the ready line. Are you me? Yeah! Are you me? Yeah! What are you? What are you?
The support systems of family and community are an integral part of the holidays for those that are caring for loved ones with special needs. Through the love and diligence of his family, Jeremiah Feliciano was able to live a healthy and productive life despite his rare genetic disease. Read his story and much more in EP's annual Family and Community issue. To read more, sign up for free today at www.epmagazine.com.
Monotony. It comes in all shapes and sizes. Dull, tedious, just plain boring. But what is this? A contender, perhaps? Something unboring by the looks of it. Jabs right at dull, an uppercut to tedium, something that keeps you on your toes, keeps your head on a swivel, a knockout punch to your old, boring workouts. Welcome to Fight Camp.
Oscar Mike Radio is a proud podcast partner of Reach Across America Radio, heard every Thursday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern. They're also big supporters of the nonprofit I Got Your Six, Two Lives at Once. And with every wreath you sponsor through Oscar Mike Radio, $5 goes back to this great organization dedicated to making a difference in the lives of veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders battling PTSD. Two Lives at Once pairs these brave men and women together with dogs rescued from kill shelters. In this way, two lives are saved at the same time by saving each other. Donate now. Go to reachacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio to help. That's reachacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio.
In 1948, President Harriet Tubman signed an executive order that mandated an end to segregation in our armed forces. But the fight for acceptance and equality was far from over. Join us on Saturday, February 1st, as we kick off Right to Fight, a powerful video series that chronicles African Americans in the military overcoming obstacles to gain the right to defend their homeland.
Hello and welcome again to Oscar Mike Radio. My name is Travis, Marine Corps veteran and your host. We are on mission, on the move for our veterans, active duty military, and those who support us. Thank you very much. Oscar Mike Radio is co-produced by Sinister One Productions. What's your podcast doing? I want to thank my sponsor, Joyce Asack of Asack Real Estate, Army National Guard veteran Travis Arnold, who has Cason Shaving Company, Exceptional Parent Magazine, and Fight Camp. Be your strongest combination. This is a special airing release show for Oscar Mike Radio in collaboration with the Executive Office of Veteran Services for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We're doing a whole 4-part series special on Black History Month. And for me, this is kind of really cool as Oscar Mike Radio to be able to do this. But also I realized that there have been other times in my life where, Black Americans who served our country have had a profound impact on me. The first one that comes to mind is the Buffalo Soldiers and what they did in the Civil War and out west. And then one of my favorites, Colin Powell, God rest his soul, whose quote about leadership really had a personal and profound effect on me. And the quote is, "If your people quit bringing you their problems, you've lost your ability to lead. You're not fit." And that is true. So we've got a 4-part series. We're going to cover some things about Black History Month and Black American soldiers who served as a whole. Go into some of my favorite aviators, the Tuskegee Airmen, and then go into some other things that I've got going on, like with General Harriet Tubman. Yes, she became a general. Very cool story behind that. And then closing out this arc with Deputy Secretary Gayle-Bennett, and then a father and son, Black American, African American duo who are doing some amazing things. Before we get into the main show topic for this first part of Oscar Mike Radio and Black History Month, I wanted to answer the question, what is the Executive Office of Veterans Services for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? What does that mean? What do they do? And why would you want to, you being me, want to work with them, collaborate with them about anything at all? That's a fair question to ask. They're fairly a new entity in the Commonwealth. Of course, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has a strong history of supporting veterans and those who are actively serving our military, as well as reservists and Air National Guard and Army National Guard. And the Executive Office of Veterans Services was created to really be focused on that one mission. We're not under any other department in the Commonwealth. When I say we as veterans are under anything to do with the Executive Office of Veterans Services. And it is nice, I can say as a veteran, to know that there is an office specifically for me. What does EOVS actually do? Some of the responsibilities are overseeing strategic programs and benefits for veterans, managing locations like the Veterans Homes in Holyoke and Chelsea, and they operate and maintain the Veterans Memorial Cemeteries in Agawam, Winchendon, and other areas. And they look at and provide services to eligible veterans under the Chapter 115 benefits. And they are also there to help veterans transition to civilian life with education, employment, and housing support. And it is Massachusetts' way of being in front of problems and issues that veterans may have. They're a big part of why Massachusetts enacted the HEROES Act, which has more benefits and programs for veterans. And it's designed to give a person, whether they're a veteran or a spouse or a parent, a direct path to advocacy in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I have met several people who work for EOVS, talked to some of them, and I've met Deputy Secretary Andrea Gayle-Bennett, who I've seen her at the Brockton VA. She has spoken at other events locally to me. We've talked several times, and it was really great to understand what they were trying to do in not only the podcast space and say, hey, we in EOVS want to get into people who podcast and see if we can get some, of our message out through the podcast, but also understand what this new medium is, how we can empower it for ourselves, and, start with Black History Month. And I'm all about that. Again, some of my military heroes are, Black Americans, African Americans, and it's really great to see this all come to fruition. So we went over a little bit what EOVS is, the Executive Office for Veterans Services for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and I will have that link in this podcast show post. So you can go right to the website, check it out. And even if you're not a resident in the state of Massachusetts, Commonwealth, you can check it out and see, how we do things here. And if you so choose, have your state do the same thing. Black History Month is just really an important time in our country to celebrate the achievements and accomplishments of Black Americans who have come before us. And we'd be remiss if we didn't take this time and really appreciate the remarkable legacy of Black soldiers in the military, their sacrifices, and their profound impact on our nation's history. And so I want to dedicate this episode, this show, to their bravery, resilience, and unwavering commitment to justice and equality for all Americans. And to do that, we have to go back to the Revolutionary War, where Black soldiers fought valiantly for our nation's independence. Christmas at Tux, the first casualty of the Boston Massacre, and the 1st Rhode Island Regiment, the Black Regiment, played a crucial role in several battles, including the Battle of Rhode Island. And a lot of times you don't hear about these regiments, these people, these pivotal figures in our history. And so, expect more to follow on the historical aspects of our revolutionary war heroes, including these Black soldiers who fought so bravely for our freedom. And then again, I think for me growing up, and I didn't grow up in Massachusetts, but where I grew up, the Civil War history was taught very, very passionately. And it was noted that, almost 200,000 Black men served in the Union Army. And how else do you say this? That they literally were fighting for their freedom. And in Massachusetts, it was the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment that led the way as one of the first American units in the Northeast to go to the Civil War. And I'm going through all this. I'm reading about these brave men and women, and I realize that, again, you need movies like Glory. We need these statues so we do not forget the legacy. Because I think maybe out of all the conflicts and the wars, Black Americans, Black soldiers served in, the Civil War was the most pivotal one because they were literally fighting for their freedom with a nation that had largely ignored them and allowed slavery to continue for over 100 years, hundreds of years, excuse me. That can't be glossed over. We can't forget what they did, because the reality is a lot of them were just not even seen as human beings, but they still felt it was worth it to spend their blood, sweat, and tears to buy freedom for future generations. It's just really amazing. We go to the world wars, and in World War I, there was the Harlem Hellfighters, the 369th Infantry Regiment, who served in the battlefield. And I like you all, maybe you've heard of these regiments. I have not, I'll admit it. But learning about them, I'm like, man, I'm just reminded about what I don't know. And so I'm like, let's learn more. Let's understand more. Let's keep this legacy alive of what they did and how they contributed to our country. And then in World War II, more and more Black men served, and Black women. Very, very distinguished service. And my absolute favorite is reading about the Tuskegee Airmen and Eleanor Roosevelt, who's like, these men can fly. And when you start looking at the B-17s bombers that went to Germany, France to, fight against the Germans, and how these airmen protected those air crews and kept them alive to complete the mission, we just can't say enough about them. I mean, there you are in a B-17 strapped into your ball turret or into the tail gun position, watching the Messerschmitts come at you, and all of a sudden, there's that P-51 saying, I got you. I've got your back. I've got your six. And they engage with the German aircraft, the German aviators, and allow the B-17s to go forward, put the bombs on target, and come home. They saved a lot of lives, and this is being recorded after this big dust-up with the Tuskegee history being taken out of the Air Force curriculum. I'm glad it got put back. I am, but it's shameful it's even removed in the first place. And to me, it's shameful it took that long to get it put back into the curriculum. It should have never happened. I don't know who did it. I don't know why they did it. I'm not here to assign blame. I'm just saying it should have never happened in the first place. And that legacy will remain alive and well at Oscar Mike Radio until I'm done recording. In recent times, I say recent, we're talking the last 20, 30 years. I can't think of anybody who had a more profound effect on military service members, Black Americans who served in the military and people of color who served in the military more than General Colin Powell. I remember him with the glasses on, working with General Schwarzkopf in Desert Storm. That's what I remember, my first memories of him. And, you know, what he did to support the Desert Storm invasion and just what an overwhelming triumph that was, how that was executed. But as I got older and got into my Marine Corps career, you know, we had some, you know, staff NCOs and, you know, lieutenants say, you ought to read the book and study, you know, General Powell for leadership. And I was a PFC at the time. I'm like, okay, I'll read the book. I'll study it. You know, it's a general, so he must know what he's doing. And like I said at the top of this, I read a whole lot about his history, about his accomplishments, about his service, about what he did, and the fact that he earned everything he got. But it was when I started reading what he felt about leadership that really got me. Things like, hey, you know, if there's a problem, you got to be able to fix it. The fact that if you're the leader, you get all the problems and you shouldn't get any of the praise. The praise should go to the people working underneath you who got the actual work done. Your job is to shine the light on them and their accomplishments and build them up instead of taking any praise for yourself. And then to me, one of the things that stuck with me for a very long time, and now that I'm kind of, you know, in my professional career in a different way, is if your people do not bring you their problems, if they're not coming to you with their professional problems, and in this case, even personal problems, you've lost your ability to lead and you're not fit for leadership. And you don't deserve the trust that your followers put in you. And for all intents and purposes, I'm like, wow, you know, I'm a little E2 PFC. I don't know one in front of the other. And I'm like, that was pretty heavy. Heavy in the way that he understood that people are what make or break a system, a program. It's not technology. It's not AI. It's not, you know, money. It's the people that go to battle with you. They're the most important thing. And if you're not taking care of your people, then you cannot call yourself a leader. And I think that's why I really wanted to do this with the Executive Office of Veteran Services. There's little things like that. There's big, huge things, right? Like I didn't know before I started really digging into this series. But there's little nuggets that you can pull out of, like, these were really amazing people, fantastic Americans. We cannot forget what they did for us. We should never forget. And I won't allow that to happen. But also we should celebrate their accomplishments and achievements for the next generation, looking for a way forward, the magic trail of breadcrumbs to success, whatever that may be, right? These people have done it for us. And the really neat thing is, yes, they've done it for other African American, Black Americans who are going through their life trying to succeed in their own way. But we all can learn from what these people did for us. So with that being said, I'm happy to do this. It's a great honor to work with the Executive Office of Veteran Services. I will have the link in the Oscar Mike Radio show post for the Executive Office of Veteran Services. And we're going from this show to our next show, which is about nuclear deterrence with Professor and Attorney Charles Moxley. Very interesting gentleman. I learned so much when he came on in 2024. And then the next week, we'll be talking more about the Tuskegee Airmen and what they did. And that's followed by On Mission Motorsports. And then we have General Harriet Tubman, who's a civilian. And we talk about how her impact is felt by people today and what she did during the Civil War and during the time of slavery. And then we end with Deputy Secretary Andrea Gayle-Bennett, and then the father and son team of Champions for Vets. I'm really happy to do this. Can't wait for the other shows. You can follow me on Oscar Mike Radio. Please check out the Executive Office for Veteran Services website. And as we say in Oscar Mike Radio, we're mission in flight.
The biggest fear Gold Star families have that their child will be forgotten.
We need to never forget freedom wasn't free.
It's the fact that they give us the life we have now. We should remember them and give thanks to them.
If I can be a part of something today that's going to make the surviving family of any of these veterans, these heroes, feel better tomorrow, then it's worth it.
That one wreath symbolizes one family that was able to smile because of the generous donations.
To sponsor a wreath and honor a veteran, visit wreathsacrossamerica.org.
Thank you for listening and watching Oscar Mike Radio, where our active duty service members and veterans are in action and the mission is in flight. Oscar Mike Radio is an oversized load Co-Sinister One production. If you are a veteran or know a veteran who needs help, please dial 988 and press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line.